Hi, I'm Ksenia Brodemillion,
Hi, I'm Beth Dart.
and I am here in Winnipeg on Treaty 1 territory. It's the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dene, and the Métis Nation. Super grateful to be learning and creating here. I also have a lot of gratitude for the traditional stewards of the land and those who continue to take care of the land. And I'd like to commit to doing the best I can to make sure that any theater I create here is respectful of that land and of the people who live on them and lived on them.
I'm coming from Amiskwichi Waskagan, colonially known as Edmonton, Alberta, on Treaty 6 territory. And recently, the city renamed all of the wards in consultation with a group of Indigenous women. And where I am specifically is Odainin, which means strawberry or heartberry. And that's because it is the heart of the city, the heart of the community. And it's a traditional medicine of the Anishinaabe and Saulteaux people, and is rooted in the understanding of the deep connection between mind, body, spirit, and emotions. And I think that just speaks so much to what we do in creating theater.
And what I would love to do is to explore any or all of those ideas that we have talked about by looking at photos of some different sites that I've found and discussing, what excites us about potentially making theater there, or what we might watch out for. This is somewhere that we sort of went together. So we did a little virtual field trip to the Manitoba Museum.
I mean, this for me just instantly asks the question, when does your experience start? Does your experience start outside of the doors of the entire building? Does it start as soon as you step inside the building? Does it happen once you cross the threshold into the actual museum outside of the foyer? So there's so many questions to ask yourself about what that onboarding process is for your audience. We talked a lot about onboarding.
Yes.
Yeah. Where is your eye drawn to when you are standing in the perspective of the audience? And what can you use? How can you use a performer? How can you use sound? How can you use lighting to draw your audience into those frames if you're asking them to move with you?
And one of the great things about the museum that we talked about is the built-in infrastructure of sound. Like there's sound playing in that gallery, and there are lights everywhere. And the ones that are focused on the mural could be refocused without even adding or taking anything down. So it's a space that's not necessarily meant for performance, but could lend itself to some of the technical needs really easily, which is
and if fun. Creating in this space you had access to that, the technical infrastructure of a museum, what a dream. What a dream.
We talked very early on about framing a space and seeing those different, like almost cinematically, like where are the people and where are the interesting points. And ever since, I've been really thinking about how I like to see through things.
Also, like, comes back to the conversation around consent in a way too, that if you create a barrier that your audience can see through and then invite them to come through it, then they're making a choice to move through that. They aren't being forced to. And so, like, that is just an example of moments of consent. Of like, I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind is this is a highly public space. That if you are creating for a space like this, you want it to be something that can exist with the regular activity that exists in this location, because you can't really displace a public space that is this actively used.
And in thinking about that, I'm like, well, you almost never see people standing on that like green patch of lawn, and very seldom on the actual steps to City Hall. But it's a miracle that no one was in the bus shelter at the time for folks who are using it. But it would be so interesting to see a silent scene inside the bus shelter. So perhaps there is a place that's only an express bus stop, so it's only used as a bus stop between 8 and 9 in the morning and 4 and 5 at night, and then you could do a show there without bothering anybody. To me.
And where do you put your audience? What perspective is the audience taking in the experience from?
Yeah, and the levels in the space intrigue me. So that's sort of what I had for us to talk about.
Amazing. So fun.
Thank you so much, Beth, for being my mentor since January, and thank you for this interview moment to help share the experience with other people.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.